Hey guys, my name is Simone. This is Simone Says, and today I will be sharing with you guys some study techniques that I use in grad school and in undergrad, as well as another technique that I've been using that I didn't even realize I was using. So if you are interested in finding some new ways to study, let's not waste any more time because we don't have time to waste time. Let's get into it. So in my last video, I talked about how professors or teachers or whoever was introducing a class would say that we cannot use the study strategies from undergrad in grad school. It just wasn't gonna work. But there was no suggestion as to what we should use in place of the study strategies that we weren't allowed to use from undergrad. So I basically had to revamp my entire study strategy. And what I do now really works for me because it really is very different. Like the way I studied in undergrad just was not gonna work. And I tried it and I failed. So I know that it works. So if you go to my school and you've seen this or this or this or even this, that's me. I use whiteboards, and it's probably the most effective study strategy I have ever used in the entire time I've been in school. But the way it works for me is through repetition. So you read the information off of a PowerPoint, then you write it on the board, and then you step back and you reread it. That is you seeing the information or reading the information or saying the information out loud to yourself 3 times. Using whiteboards allows me to make lists, make memory aids, make abbreviation, allow for my own flow and organization in the information. So this way you can organize it in a way that it makes sense to you. At the same time, I basically will write out the information that I need to understand or any new information, which is most of the time all of the information, because realistically it's grad school, I don't know nothing about nothing. But the information that I do know, I just won't put it on the whiteboard. I would leave that part out. And once I have reviewed the information through the entire PowerPoint, I will then review the information again with a group of friends, and we basically will just read out the PowerPoint slides to each other. And the one thing I really love about this is we will randomly just start firing questions at each other just so that we don't forget the information that we just read a few slides before. Sometimes I start this way, I start studying with a group of friends, and then when I realize what I don't understand fully or what I don't know fully, then I will go through the PowerPoint again by myself and use the whiteboard and really concentrate on the topics that I didn't understand when I was studying with the group. The final part about using a whiteboard is that I always take pictures, so I have tons and tons and tons of pictures of information from different PowerPoints that I used the whiteboard to study. I basically just took a picture when I was done. Sometimes it had to be 2 separate pictures, sometimes 3 because it was a lot of information. But I would take a picture of the information and just basically just save that. And then before the exam, if I wanted to just quickly look over something, or if I forgot one little thing realistically before an exam, I feel like I blank and I don't know anything, but that's besides the point. But that's the way I've basically been studying in grad school, and it's really worked for me. So I wanted to learn about some other study strategies that I could possibly use in the long term if I ever come across something that I need a new study strategy for. And as a matter of fact, if you have a study strategy that you really like, put it in the comment section down below. I'd like to see how some other people study. But the study strategy that I came across is called the Feynman Technique. And this is basically used whenever you want to learn anything, memorize anything, or understand a concept. And it's like the easiest way to do it. So it works in 4 steps. First step is choose a topic. Then you basically explain the topic in simpler terms to somebody that doesn't have the same knowledge about the information that you have. Like you're explaining it to a child or to yourself out loud. He said, like, that's what he said in the video. He said you could explain it to yourself. I mean, I'm talking to myself right now. Like, I talk to myself, so I probably explain it to myself. And then once you're explaining to yourself, you basically can find gaps in your understanding. And you go back and you go through the information again, the parts that you don't fully understand, and you familiarize yourself with those parts, put them in simpler terms, and then go back and repeat the process and explain it to somebody else again. I feel like this method works because in order to explain something in simpler terms, in order to say it in your own words, you have to understand what you're saying. This is basically a technique that I have been using, which I didn't even realize I was using, because I was explaining the information to myself or to my peers, and through that I can see where my gaps in my knowledge were, and then I would go back and figure it out how to explain it to myself or to my peers, and then once I figured that out, then I would go back and explain it again. So I was basically also using this technique in undergrad. The way I studied in undergrad was a little bit different because you have more time in undergrad. You just have more time. So I basically would start studying for a midterm about a week or 2 weeks before the exam. The max that I've ever studied for an exam for grad school has been maybe, I think 4 days is the max that I studied information for an exam. I realize now what I do in grad school is I would basically go through the information and try to really understand why each fact is fact, because understanding the information is what allows me to memorize it better. It's like, instead of memorizing the fact, memorize how to get to the fact, memorize why the fact makes sense. Then after I was finished going through the material a bunch of times by myself, I would go to my best friend, we would study together maybe about 2 or 3 days before the exam or the midterm, and we would literally just explain the information to each other, and then see where our gaps still were and familiarize ourselves with the information from there. So I basically went from memorization through repetition in undergrad to memorization through understanding the information in grad school. And I feel like this works better because I don't have as much time to repeat the information. It just doesn't work like that. There's just no time for it. And this way I basically save time and paper and space, because I'm not writing out notes, typing out notes, printing out notes. I'm literally using the whiteboard and the space on my phone, and it works for me. So I hope this information helped even just one person to find a new way to study. If it did and you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and subscribe. But until next time, stay hydrated, stay motivated, and mind your business, because it's just easier that way, you know? Trying to be slick, acting like the water ain't dripping all over the place. Clumsy to be already messed it up. Boom. Okay. Oh, I can't look at myself. We're not doing this again. We're not doing this again. Simone says, and today we're going to be sharing. There's only me here. Oh God. Here we go. Here we go again.